So, family dynamics are very fun. Whether you make them obscenely toxic or just a standard family, each new dynamic you make will be unique to that family. But maybe you're wanting to spice up your dynamics, or you just want to cure an itch of curiosity about different family dynamics out there. In this video, we're going to be talking about 10 different family dynamics ranging from parents, siblings, and children. But before we get started, let me talk about what I'm drawing in the background. This is a page for my webcomic Keys of Corruption, which the first chapter is actually out now. In a world where only 1% of the population is born with special powers called keys, distressing things start to happen to Rose Kingsley when her mentor dies. This sets into motion a dangerous chain of events that will change Rose's life forever. Keys of Corruption can be found on my personal website, southsunsetcomics.com. It will be the first link in the description, or you can find it on Manga Plus Creators, Webtoon, or Tapas. Now, onto the dynamics. Dynamic 1, enemies to found family. Not to be confused with enemies to lovers, though I'm not sure who would. Enemies to found family is built on new beginnings and the slow development of trust. Want a slow burn friendship? This is the dynamic for you. A group of random people come together and hate each other, or two people on opposite sides of a war have to work together and grow that bond of trust. But they're not quite found family yet. Maybe they come across each other 2 more times, and now they fully trust each other. But it's not until one is in grave danger and appears to the other like, I didn't know who else to trust, in a non-romantic way, and boom! Found family dynamic. This is honestly a newer concept to me, which I came across while researching this video, but I actually really like it. I love found family in general anyway, but throwing in the enemies part means that the family, well, still being on the chaotic side, has an air of trust that some found families just don't get. Dynamic 2, forced family. A group of misfits thrown together and they really don't get along, but they learn to work together and despite all odds, are fighting to make sure they get through it no matter what. A forced family can really go either way when it comes to a complete dynamic. On the one hand, they could develop a really close-knit bond, be ride or dies for each other and really fall into that family dynamic. Or they might never figure out how to work together and by extension, actually be able to spend quality time with each other. Maybe they end up hating each other so much that they want to kill each other. A truly sad outcome, but if you're looking for a dynamic that will shake up the pre-existing expectations of found family, this is definitely one that you can use. Dynamic 3, siblings who are enemies. What would happen if 2 siblings who are extremely close in childhood got split up and only reunite on the battlefield? Well, you'd have this insanely cool dynamic I thought of while trying to sleep. Although I'm pretty sure this dynamic does exist elsewhere, just let me have this one. After spending so much time away from one another, thinking their way of doing things, their ideals, were the only way, they come to a clash where they know that that's their sibling, but they don't even recognize them anymore. Whether or not they make amends in the story completely depends on what kind of plot you have, but I really like the idea of both siblings not backing down, so that the only way to stop them is to kill them. Yes, this is coming from someone who ranked major character death in their top 10 favourite writing tropes. I love the angst. Dynamic 4, Stray Collector. This dynamic is quite simple in nature, but it is genuinely one I keep using. On purpose and by accident, it always just keeps popping up. But I love the idea of a singular adult just seeing an abandoned child, teenager, or even young adult, and metaphorically picking them up and putting them in their pocket. Like the same way people sometimes hold cats by their neck and then just go, into the collection you go. In my notes, I've written picking kids up like Pokemons, and I totally agree with sleep-deprived me, to be honest. The idea that maybe one day these kids will go out into the world and slowly make their way back to the stray collecting adults, so that they know that they've at least done right by them. Maybe those kids become stray collectors too, passing on the dynamic and leaving the world knowing that you've done at least one good thing in your life. I think this especially works in fantasy worlds as well, because so many kids are missing their parents. Like every fantasy world needs a stray collector. Dynamic 5, ride or die siblings. Bonus points if they're not even related or are just sibling coded. Make me feel happy. Just the idea of siblings going, yeah, I'd die for you, but I'd also live for you, is something I don't really think I've seen in media yet. And now I could be wrong. I forget what animes I watched on a regular basis until someone mentions it first. Maybe they've been through tough times. Maybe their parents suck. Or maybe they just have a completely healthy relationship with family. Either way, these siblings are attached at the hip and ready to kick ass for one another. Maybe they start off not liking each other, depending on their age, that's common. But certain events made them see each other differently and changes their whole dynamic. I think this would be a really fun idea in film based in a car or something. The only reason for this is that they have to be stuck in a car until the end of the movie, so it feels like they're on a singular journey. Maybe they get to their final destination and their family is like, what happened to you two? And they're like, oh, nothing important. But their entire dynamics changed. Dynamic 6, doting parents versus chaotic children. This is another idea that I thought of while sleep deprived, again. I'm not sure if this exists or not, but I've kind of become obsessed with the idea of chaotic children going out and saving the world, and they've got a series of cuts and stuff on their face, and when they get back home, there's two parents there who are like, did you go and save the world again? And they get to hear all about it while cooking them dinner and cleaning their wounds. Doesn't that sound nice? Like, it's completely the opposite of main characters we usually get, who have 1 or 9 parents, and I think main characters deserve better. Now, I can't say that I've started this movement. I am, again, addicted to the angst, but I think this is possibly a fun dynamic to explore. And if you wanted to make it a bit more cool, the parents could be involved too. Maybe they used to save the world and now they're just doing bits and bobs to support their kid. A bit like the Spy Kids family dynamic. Like, the family is filled with badasses, but it's also filled with unconditional love. Dynamic 7, dysfunctional family. Now, I have listed a few angsty dynamics here, and this one is no different. We've had happy families, and now we're going to talk about dysfunctional families. They will argue and they will be tense all the time, and I'm not entirely sure if the next point does happen in dysfunctional families, but somewhere in there is someone who will come when they are called, no matter what. I can't really speak on this. This is something, if I wanted to write, I'd have to do a lot more research into, but if you're looking for a dynamic to research into, then you can try and give this one a try. I think that's half the fun of making characters. It's researching into super niche things that you would never have looked into otherwise. Dynamic 8, suddenly a child. I'm a big fan of this specific fanfiction trope, when a character who is usually childless, that hasn't chosen to be childless, just gets given a random child. It's definitely funny when they're in some kind of teaching position, and they're teaching like teenagers, and then all of a sudden they're given a toddler and they have no idea what to do. The fact that they have to figure out how to parent, especially when it's a romantic pair, it's always so wholesome seeing partners fall in love with their partners again, just by seeing them act so domestic. Then when the exhaustion hits at the end of the period that they've had the kid, they both sit back and say, maybe we should have one of our own. I love it so much. This would require at least a surface level understanding of taking care of kids, but I honestly just think it's doable because people aren't reading this to learn how to take care of kids. They're reading it for the dynamic. Dynamic 9. I would rather die than compliment you. Now this, I'm pretty sure, originated as a ship dynamic, but I actually wanted to apply it to siblings. These would be the kind of siblings who would take a bullet for each other, but would rather lose a limb than actually compliment or praise the other to their face. The kind of siblings who would never, under any circumstances, hug each other without being under some kind of duress, but would kill a man if they were talking shit behind their back. In the same vein, a toxic version, well, a more toxic version, would be characters who brutalize each other in arguments, fistfights, or worse, actual fighting, but then wouldn't allow anyone else to harm a hair on their head. Something about this dynamic just scratches my brain. Maybe it's the fact that the dynamic can be applied so widely, so the brain just keeps thinking of different versions of it, but I'm sure I'll figure that out in like 2 years from now. You know, that's a future me thought. I think what puts a bow on this dynamic is maybe at some point one of them compliments each other to the face, and the complimented person doesn't know what to do other than tease. And then the whole dynamic just slowly shifts to a one that's more pleasant than the previous one, even if neither will admit it. Finally, dynamic 10, growing old together. Because with everything you've put your characters through, they deserve to grow old and be happy while doing it. Whether they have kids or not, whether they're in love or not, everyone deserves to grow old. And this has been 10 family dynamics that you can explore in your work. I actually had a ton of fun looking through forums for dynamics, and I came across a few I'd never heard of. But upon further research, I realized that it could be something I could easily love. Let me know what your favorites were in the comments. All my socials are in the description, and consider subscribing. It helps the channel out a lot.